Hi, Two Doc Talkers throughout the world. I'm Rob from Two Docs Talk. Beginning in January 2025, we decided to do something a little bit different, focusing on YouTube videos that are shorter. We'll put this together into a longer form podcast every month. You can either watch the videos on YouTube or get them on audio format on Apple and Spotify. Same content, just different ways of delivering it. We'll still have guest interviews as well. This month, we have got a few really great YouTube videos that we did just over the past couple weeks. One on morning routine, top 5 tips. The second on evening wind down, and the third about sleep apnea and my diagnosis that was kind of prompted by had an episode of sleepwalking that led to a diagnosis of sleep apnea. As always, you can reach out to me at rob@twodocstalkpodcast.com. Hit the subscribe button below. You'll get the latest videos. Without further ado, on to the show. Today we're going to focus on morning routine. Increasing evidence shows that how we start our day is a huge factor in our health and our lifespan and health span. We'll have top 5. Number 1 is get enough sleep. So evidence shows that less than 7 hours or more than 9 hours are both associated with poor health. And so the idea is to get about 7 to 8 hours a night. And just because you're spending 7 hours in bed doesn't mean you're getting 7 hours of sleep. So I highly encourage the use of a sleep tracker. I use an Oura Ring. I wear it all the time. And it's really interesting. If I spend 8 hours in bed, it'll probably show about seven-ish hours of sleep. If I spend 7 hours in bed, it's about 6 hours. And so it's actually pretty interesting because you wake up during the night. And during that time, obviously, you're not sleeping and it doesn't count toward your overall sleep. Sleep is absolutely huge. We have several episodes on sleep and we'll have more in the future. But I'll let Abbass take number 2.
The second more important thing is hydration. I think during the night we lose a lots of our body fluid through breathing, and depending what geographic location that you live. If you live in a high altitude like in Colorado, you lose a lot more. But drinking 12 to 16 ounces of water, whether it's room temperature, some people they prefer lemon and honey, but hydration I think is give us more energy than anything. That more than even I think the food in the morning. So hydration is the key things to do. 1 to 2 glass when you get up is very, very important.
Great. So number 3, movement and stretching. So this is a really important part of the day, and it doesn't have to be an hour of cardio. It can be 5 to 10 minutes of stretching, just a few minutes of movement. Say walking around the block walking around your house. What I do is my routine is a high intensity workout. I use something called the Carol bike, which is it's an 8-minute workout, pretty intense but very short. It's like a sprint training. I do that 3 times a week. Then I'll alternate with weightlifting on the other days. And the whole process is about 10 minutes. So one of the things I like about these high intensity workouts is that it does not require a lot of time. You can do it. Usually I'll do it either before or after I eat. Sometimes I'll eat a little bit, say a little bit of yogurt, do a workout, then eat breakfast afterwards, just because it can be a little uncomfortable to do a intense workout on a full stomach. But some form of movement and is so critical. I'll let Abbass tackle number 4.
This is another important one is having good breakfast. I think a savory breakfast is the key thing to start, so you can your sugar as well as your insulin can be stable throughout the morning. Commonly, if you eat too much carbohydrate or sweets, then you're chasing the insulin and glucose. So I think a good savory breakfast with some seasonal fruits that you enjoy, and I think sitting at the table, having a cup of coffee or tea and a good breakfast is the most important, I think, meal of the day, and that will start your day on the right track with not fluctuating your sugar and what's insulin.
Okay, and so number 5 is really important. I don't do it very well or very often. I do it in the evening sometimes, but meditation, mindfulness, morning intention, and there's a life coach named Tony Robbins who talks a lot about this morning gratitude and it just takes a few minutes. But folks that do this say it can be really transformative for their life. And admittedly, I need to do better in this one, but it's something that we're all working toward. And so that morning meditation or mindfulness can be just a few minutes, just being aware. And it doesn't have to be a formal meditation session. You can do it really anywhere. Even it could be a few seconds even. And I know Abbass does this on a regular basis, so I'm going to let him comment on this as well.
I think the morning routine is the key things to longevity and successful day. So since I have two boys, and from being a busy practice, my wife and I have decided many years ago, I think maybe near 26, 27 years ago, we get up in the morning, and around 5:30 we allow about half an hour for before the phone call, before any social media. So we do actually some bed yoga, or simple movement in bed before we getting up, then hydration and the morning toilet, and then in toiletry we do have our cup of coffee and plan our day together, and have a nice breakfast, and then I do the stretching and exercise in between, as well as appreciating that what we have, and plan the day. So I've done this for many years, and I know my grandmother, my mother, my parents, they have done this, and they believe that if you get up before sunrise, it adds to your longevity, have a more productive day, and so that's how I do it.
Well, it's something definitely I need to do better. That sums it up. There's the top 5 morning routine. Please, if you'd like to get the latest about our videos, hit the subscribe button below. And until next time.
And if you have any comment, please let us know.
Today we're going to talk about evening wind down. Last week we talked about morning routine, and we thought it would be helpful to go over an evening wind down to help prepare for sleep. Sleep is such an important part of health. Research consistently shows that less than 7 to 8 hours a night, or more than 9 hours of sleep, is associated with poor health. Poor sleep is a risk factor for so many diseases. We thought we'd do a top 5. We actually have more. We have like 9 things to talk about today. We're just going to go ahead and jump into it. As always, want to get the latest as soon as they're available. Hit the subscribe button below. To start off with the first one, which I think is actually the most important one, get off the phone. Phones, devices, tablets, you name it, they're just everywhere in our life, and they're portable. They're so easy to use. They have all these wonderful apps and different things. You can do a lot with these phones, but they're really problematic for sleep in a number of ways. First of all, these screens are emitting blue light, which is really bad for the in terms of preparing you for sleep. It's telling the body, wake up, it's daytime. So that's a huge issue. Some advocate using blue blocking glasses, which can help to reduce the light a little bit, so you're not getting as much blue light. The other thing is, don't take your work to bed. This is something that's really important. We can take it's tempting to just grab that iPad or tablet or phone and shoot off an email at 9:30 at night, but doing that just gets everything keeps the brain active and avoids relaxation. Also, all these apps are constantly hitting on dopamine, and you're constantly getting activation of your brain when you're trying to wind down and get ready for bed. So, getting off the screen, getting off the phone is super important. I'll let Abbass tackle number 2.
Well, the second most important thing is the size of the meal. It takes about 4 hours for our stomach to empty. So a heavy meal should not be eat more than 4 hours before you're going to bed. You can maybe have a lighter dinner maybe within 3 hours. So the human body is just as other animals hibernate during the winter time. At night, our body physiology changes. So the emptier your stomach, the better you sleep, the less reflux. And that's also about hydration as well. You should be hydrated during the day and decrease the fluid intakes before you go into bed, so you don't get up in the middle of the night several times to have to urinate. So it's very important, as always, that you have 1 to 2 glasses of water before each meal. Keep your urination light yellow or clear, and then wind it down in the evening time, particularly before you go to bed, so you can get a good night's sleep.
Okay, number 3 is dim the lights in your home. This is really quite important. We live in a world of LED lights, and every room is brightly lit. You've got bathroom lights just blazing. We've got wonderful light, and energy is abundant. And so it's easy to light your home these days. However, light at this intensity activates what's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is a little part of our brain that is very, very responsive to light stimuli. And when it gets those signals, it gets confused because it thinks it's daytime. And so exposing your eye to bright light at night is exactly what you don't want to do. It tells the body it's day. I should be waking up, getting ready to go, and being active. Whereas you want to dim the lights, and so that it's evening time, it's time for rest, and that would be to try to mimic that wake sleep cycle where it's bright in the morning. You want exposure to bright light in the morning is what you want to wake up, and then you want dim lights in the evening and at nighttime. And we'll talk about in a second, but sleep. It's good to sleep. Recommend sleeping with an eye patch. That's been really helpful for me. And sleeping with an eye patch can really be helpful to just avoid those little lights that are in our room, like the alarm clock or the phone, messages coming through and it lights up for 10 seconds. Eye patches can be super helpful. Abbass will take the next one.
Another one is caffeine. Lots of people, they think they can drink coffee and go to bed, but the caffeine half-life is 7 to 8 hours. So in general, you should not be drinking any caffeine in the afternoon through the evening time. So even you feel initially falling asleep and drinking caffeine, but however, the overall, the stimulants keep you subconsciously awake. So that's any stimulants, even watching the news in the before you go into bed. That's majority of the news is unfortunately sad or violent news, and that subconsciously keep your mind stimulated and does not allow you to get a good night's sleep. So consequently, people, they watch the news with alcohol. Alcohol initially makes you to sleep fast. However, within an hour or two, you wake up, then you cannot fall back to sleep. So avoiding caffeine, alcohol, all in the news and all of that before going to bed is very, very important. Caffeine, at least start in the afternoon, and try to avoid alcohol as best as you can in the evening time. So those are very, very important thing to do.
And the half-life of caffeine is what, about 6 to 8 hours? Is that right?
Depend exactly 6 to, and that's so a coffee even at 3 o'clock in the afternoon still has in your body, and almost for 15, 16 hours. So that is correct.
Yeah, I used to drink iced tea at lunchtime in the afternoon. It was just so nice in the summer to have a nice glass of iced tea, but not the best thing for sleep. If you're trying to get to sleep at 9 or 10 o'clock and drink an iced tea at 3, 6 hours later, there's still half of that caffeine still in the body. Number 5, we have a warm bath and sauna and hot tub. So these are the warming of the body. It seems to help with sleep. I don't know if we're really sure exactly how that works, but taking a warm bath seems to be helpful. Maybe it's just relaxation. That warmth is just relaxing. Sauna and hot tub can also be useful, but I caution, avoid using these immediately before bed, because if you come out of a 180 degree or very hot sauna and try to go to bed, you're going to be very hot, and it's going to be just hard to fall asleep. So usually allow at least an hour between sauna or hot tub and going to bed. But these are helpful techniques, and we'll do an episode on sauna, because there is good evidence that it can help prevent dementia and a couple other conditions. The Finnish have done some good studies on that.
The next one is exercise. Stretching, yoga, mindfulness is very, very good before going to bed. or short walks. However, the vigorous exercise, it causes too much stimulation um, and causes you know, to not be able to relax and to go to bed. I used to play a lot of tennis, and when I was busy with children and stuff like that, I used to play late at night, 8 to 10. Those nights are very tough to fall asleep, and also then your electrolytes imbalance cause you cramps, and then consequently you cannot get good night's sleep. Light stretching exercise with yoga, tai chi, um, short walk after dinner, those are all very helpful, but not vigorous exercise.
Okay, next one is going back to sleeping in a dark room. We talked about that with the eye patch a second ago, but also sleeping in a cool room is really important. So around 65 to 68 degrees is optimal. There is some evidence that sleeping in a cool room can actually help increase something called brown fat. So sleeping in a cool room at 65 degrees can help improve this type of fat that's very helpful for the metabolic system and is very healthy. So brown fat is fat that helps us to stay warm, and and it seems to be that staying cool associates also with sleep. The body, when it's cool, is more is ready to go to sleep. If the body, if you get hot or get warm, that's when it's time to wake up. So staying cool is a good way to keep to stay asleep, and is actually quite important. It's as I get older, I've really noticed the temperature of the room has a huge factor in how the quality of my sleep.
Next thing is to organize in the next day. Don't take your problem to bed. So maybe an hour, 2 hours before bedtime, organize your next day. Just see what's things should be done on what priority need to do, and also from there, then you can organize your morning. How much get up in the morning to have the morning routine, and if you set up that time, the time that you need to wake up, then you can work out your 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Then consequently you can work all these evening events, and not taking the work to bed or thinking about the work in bed. That's another thing that is a stimulus. So having a routine calming effect, going to bed, and not stressing so much about this organization. This takes about 6 to 7 weeks to develop habits. This should be more habit than stressful. That exactly you're gonna go to bed at a certain time. Exactly that. So there's guests, there's friends, there's come there, but be try to go to bed on a certain reasonable time that you think. But it starts what time you want to get up, and then you can count back, and then organize your evening so you can have a nice, comfortable, suit sleep. So give you more energy the next day.
I really like that, and I think that's so important, just to spend a couple minutes to organize the day and kind of also reflecting on the day too that you just had, and thinking about, I think being having a few minutes just to take a few minutes and just be really grateful for that day, and think about a little bit about, also, as you said, about the next day, but just taking a few minutes and having that calm relaxation. I think it can be worked into a lot of the other activities that we just talked about. Just taking a few minutes to do some, it doesn't have to be formal meditation, but just a few minutes of deep breathing, or even if the weather is nice outside, walking outside for a few minutes in the evening can be nice, just to get a little bit of relaxation and fresh air, and just a nice end of the day.
One of the biggest things these days for sleep is people, they get too regimented for perfection, and that should not be a goal. It should be just habits and relaxation. Sometimes even a small thing goes miscued and they cannot sleep. So that's not the goal. The goal is just, these are some guidelines to use. Sometimes you can use all of them, some nights you cannot. So as long as you go to reasonable time to go to bed, and avoid caffeine, alcohol, vigorous exercise, and as Rob mentioned, is don't taking the work to bed, and don't take the I personally try to not take the phone within 8-10 feet of me. So just try to, and I tell my children things, call me if it's emergency. Of course, I have the luxury not be on call anymore, so I can afford that. So if you possibly you can try to do that and have a wonderful night of sleep and success the next day.
I always think of my phone as emitting, radiation, so I try to keep it away from my away from me as best as possible. Maybe eight, like you said, 8 to 10 feet. Put it on the other side of the room, on the dresser across the room, or on the windowsill or something. So just a little bit further away, because when it goes off or lights up, you just want to check it, and I think it's a huge issue. Well, that's our top 9 wind down tips. We'd love to hear your comments. Always feel free to drop me an email at rob@twodocstalkpodcast.com. We'll put that in the show notes, and you can always leave a comment. And as always, if you like the videos, hit the subscribe button below, and you'll get the latest. I've been tracking my sleep data for a couple of years with an Oura ring. Recently had a home sleep study, and compared that data, and it was pretty surprising. To get access to all our videos, the latest health updates and ways to improve your health span, hit the subscribe button below. And this is a device. It's a sleep tracker. So it's a little device that it's quite literally a ring, and it has sensors inside. And these sensors look at body movement, temperature, oxygen saturation, heart rate, and something called heart rate variability, which is the time between heartbeats. There's other sensors as well, and generates all this data that you can then look at on an app. So I've been using this for the last few years, and I thought I was doing pretty well. I'm pretty happy with my sleep quality. It's always usually get a score of what's called good on Oura, and I thought I was doing okay. I had an episode a couple months ago on election night, actually, where I was sleepwalking, got out of bed, was dreaming, ended up trying to tackle this table next to this nightstand next to my bed, and cut my chin. Had to go to the ER. Blood all over the place. Had to get stitches. I was pretty surprised this whole, in shock actually about this whole event. My wife has recently mentioned that I was snoring at night, which was new. Thought, well, maybe I should see a sleep specialist and get this checked out. So ended up seeing a sleep specialist. Was advised to wear a home sleep apnea test device, and did that, and got a result back of moderate obstructive sleep apnea. I don't have any risk factors for sleep apnea other than being a male. My body weight is normal, body mass index is normal, but was pretty surprised when I got that result. So I thought it might be interesting to look at the Oura data, compare that to the home sleep study. I think it's important to say a big disclaimer. This is not really a totally fair comparison. Oura is not a medical device. It's designed to look at sleep quality and help you improve that sleep quality. It's not designed to measure or diagnose sleep apnea. Not a totally fair comparison in that regard. However, I thought it'd be interesting to compare the two, and we can also go through the reports and learn about how to read a sleep report as well. First, let's go into the Oura data. So this is my data from Oura, and so this is last night's data. So it calculates what's called the readiness score from 0 to 100, and then the sleep score. So I did better on readiness than on sleep, and you can click on each one. And for sleep, it breaks down all the different categories here: heart rate variability, body temperature, respiratory rate, and it calculates this score. And you can look at each of these different metrics as well. I usually get scores of sleep between in the 70s to 80s. So this is the sleep scores here. Take a look at this. This is, I think, kind of interesting. Time in bed and total sleep. So for me, it's about 45 minutes to an hour where I'm in bed, but my actual sleep time is less than that, by about an hour. And so that's something that I've been looking at and noting on this data. And as we go through it, we'll see that that's pretty consistent. Looks at resting heart rate, and it shows you the sleep duration and the sleep stages as well. So it looks at awake, REM sleep, light sleep, and then deep sleep. This is the oxygen saturation, and it looks at the percentage of oxygen saturation and breathing regularity. And usually my data was pretty good. Here, that's 2 nights ago, time in bed and total sleep about an hour different. On the day before that, again, about an hour different. My breathing regularity usually is pretty good, optimal or good on almost all the days. So thought I was doing okay in this regard, and then did the sleep study that I got back. I was in my car when I read this and was pretty surprised. I was not totally prepared to read this. So moderate sleep apnea, sleep fragmentation, the apnea hypopnea index of 21 with an oxygen saturation, the lowest level was 79%. So that was the conclusion of the report. This is the actual report, and it looks at the total recording time up here on top, 7 hours 30 minutes. The total amount of sleep was 6 hours and 32 minutes. So again, about an hour difference between the two. So for me, that seems to be my norm. And looks at these different metrics, what's called the apnea hypopnea index. So this is the big one you want to look at here. It looks at the apneas, which is when I stop breathing, hypopneas, breathe lightly, and then add those together and divide by the total time of sleep. So gives a value of 21. And if you look at here on the bottom, it looks at this shows the scale of sleep apnea severity. Normal is less than 5, mild 5 to 15, moderate 15 to 30, and then above 30 is considered severe. So I was we're kind of smack dab in the middle of the moderate range. There's another metric here called the respiratory distress index, and that came up at 240. That shows the apneas, hypopneas, and also these sleep arousals. And so if you add those together, it was 240 events, which gives a value of 37.9. Anything above 30 actually is considered severe. Sleep actually not great, based on this result. Over here shows the oxygen saturation. Most of my oxygen saturation drops are pretty mild, so only between 4 and 9% drop. So this is probably why Aura was showing that my oxygen level was fairly good. But an average. But again, I'm having these drops. If you look at the actual data for the sleep test, we'll go into this. This is the tracing. You can see the respiratory events on top, body position, and then the oxygen saturation. And when this little black line here drops below 90, that's when you're get concerned. And so periodically having these drops, when I have those drops, my heart rate usually goes up around the time of those drops, indicating that there's an arousal. So I'm waking up a little bit during that time. So got this data back, met with my sleep specialist, and decided to do CPAP. So I haven't started it yet, but I'll start it in the coming weeks. I'm going to try a nasal device first, a nasal CPAP device, give that a go. So in summary, if you're having any sleep issues, or if your partner says you are snoring, or you're stopping breathing when you sleep, or you're having unusual fatigue during the day, but you think you're sleeping okay, and even if your watch or a ring says you're doing okay, maybe consider a sleep study. Consider meeting with a sleep specialist and having this evaluated. I was glad I did, because I think what happened when I was sleepwalking, my theory is that it probably had one of these events. Oxygen level went down. I kind of woke up, but only partially. I don't really remember it. And I think what happened is I ended up, having this event. I was disoriented and then fell out of bed and hit the table. Would love to hear your comments. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at rob@twodocstalkpodcast.com. You can also put comments in the video, on the video below. Hit that subscribe button so you can get the latest updates, and we'll see you on the next video.